Morning everyone. So today we're going to start off talking about loudness and levels. With live sets, it's interesting. There's so many different elements and modules and machines that are all samples that are different levels. So it can be challenging to get that matched and consistent. So there's a whole bunch of different terms here, the gain staging, all the different ways you can sort of turn up and turn down the volume at different levels or different points in your signal chain. Loudness, which is how loud it's going to sound, how loud it's going to the PA. But today we're going to talk about level matching. How do you make sure that your different samples and sounds and boxes are consistent in levels coming out to the PA? So we're going to talk about that for prepping a live set to make sure that you don't have unintended bounces up and down in sound. So you can make everything be consistent and really sort of drive as loud as you want into the PA, knowing that when you switch patterns, switch tracks, that everything's going to be all the same. And in a perfect world, we would all pay attention to that when we're building our patterns, normalize all our samples, but I bring up all kinds of different stuff from the past, different tracks. So this will be a video on how to make sure that all that's working. So let's dive in and take a look at my setup and how we're using loudness in Ableton to do some level matching. Okay, so this is the setup. That's a bit of a stripped down version. I've got a gig tonight, so I don't have everything set up. So this is what we're going to play with for getting our level matching. So we've got the modular case here and the analog Rytm, and both of those are feeding into the Octatrack, which I'm using as a mixer. So just thinking about the ways we can control the levels here. The modular mixer, each individual channel has its own levels, and then there's a master level here what controls what goes out to the Octatrack. Within the Rytm, we have a number of different options here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see the screen. Okay, there we go. So each track has a synthesizer. Has a level for the synth. And then also, if you're using samples, there's a level for the samples. And then there's also a volume in the amp page. And then there's also the level of the track itself. And then we have, if we go to the effects and then we've got on the compressor page, you've got the master volume, which is for the whole pattern. So those are the things we can change. And then for the Octatrack, similar kind of idea. Each track has its own level. There's also an amp page where there's a volume. There's also for the samples in the audio editor menu, you can also boost the gain of the actual sample. And then finally on the mix page, we have the master out. So here you can boost what's going out from the main out to the PA. So in this setup, those are the things that we have to play with. So let's figure out how we can get these levels matched. And the way we're going to do that right now, we've got everything coming into the Octatrack as the mixer. The Octatrack outs, in this case, usually I play with the analog heat, but just for the level testing or level matching, that doesn't really matter. It's more about getting consistency than loudness. So we have the master out from the Octatrack going into my Focusrite Scarlett interface. And the interface doesn't really matter, yeah, and then that's going into Ableton. And just minimize this for a second. So basically just have a really simple setup with the Octatrack coming in on external 5 and 6, and you can see the sounds coming in here. And just the important thing is not to have any gain, no effects, nothing else. And what I'm doing is using the BX Limiter True Peak, this plugin here, which is nice because it shows you the loudness, and you can see the levels coming in here. This is the peak when the kick is hitting, and then this is the average level. And this is the level that we're really going to be focusing on and looking at that, just making sure that this is consistent across all of our tracks. And then in another video, we can talk about how do we get this as loud as possible. Because when I'm playing live, I like to send this out at -8 which is relatively loud. So streaming, you can see here, streaming targets is usually minus 14. And then, yeah, I like it loud, so it sounds loud in the club. So this is the perceived and actual loudness that's coming through. And you can also look at your dynamic range here, which we can talk about another time. What's the variation? Is it all exactly the same level, or are you actually seeing variations across your sounds? So let's see how that actually looks in practice here. Okay, so as we can see, we've got this track coming in right now, or at pretty much like right around minus 12. So if I switch over to the next pattern that's coming up here, see, we're pretty much around the same level, maybe just a little bit quieter, around minus 11. So sorry, that's a little bit louder. But yeah, that's close enough for now, because I like to have this big kick quite loud. And then the next one, let's try this. Yeah, so right now, yeah, around minus 12. So you can see as I go across those different tracks, I know that's going to be roughly the same level. But if I look at another one here that's new to this set, and bring up this, oh, actually just by chance, we're actually in pretty good shape here. Okay, so that's, you can see also at level at 12, so that's good. And then if we bring up yet another one here, let's go to this one. Okay, so this one is also actually in pretty good shape. So we're looking good here. All right, and then let's go to another one. Gee. This is a newer one that I've just put together. Okay, so here we can see, okay, we're quite a bit quieter. So we don't want that to happen. And actually, let's just check out what the bass is going to be here too. So we can get that sorted out. Okay, so we're still a little bit quiet here. So we can make sure that we check the Octatrack level. Okay, that's pretty much set. So let's go over to the Rytm, and we can check this master volume. So we're pretty much maxed out there. So what we can do is go back to the track and look at, okay, maybe we can bring up the kick a little bit. And then the overall level of the track. If we just bring this up a little bit, so yeah, right now we're just around 12, and we can go back to our Octatrack. Okay, so there we're set. Okay, great. So that's kind of the idea there in a quick and dirty way, so we can make sure that everything is set as we flip back and forth between those. So let me just save this. Okay, so there we go. And one other quick thing you can do, this is the default Spectrum plugin with Ableton. All workstations will have something like this. So this is showing our frequencies coming in. We've got the kick coming in here. So we can use this both for tuning, but also look at how we're going to do our sound design. So you can see here for techno, okay, obviously lots of bass, and there's some good highs here. But you can see it's maybe like a little bit, not too much in here. So I may want to think about when I'm playing live, bringing in either a synth voice or a pad or some percussion to kind of fill in this. You don't want to necessarily be exactly equal, but you want to make sure there's kind of no big gaps here. And just as I said before, these are all things that you don't want to happen unintentionally. Intentionally, it can be really good for a section to have only bass and highs and nothing in the mids, and then bring in the mids at a part to sort of give some variation, or do the opposite. Same with levels. It can be fine to sort of have one track a lot quieter and then the next one louder to really give like a big bang when you come in. That's fine if you're doing that intentionally, but you don't want unintentionally to drop off and lose that energy on the dance floor, or alternatively blow out the speakers of what's going on behind the scenes there. So, all right, there we go.